We were the couple everyone envied. Married 6 years, no dramatic fights, no secrets. Or so I thought. I'm 33, IT consultant, remote job, good salary. I cook, I clean, I never forgot her birthday. She's a paralegal, sharp as hell, always dressed like she walked out of a magazine. We'd been trying to grow our family. 2 heartbreaks later, we hadn't stopped. Every Sunday, she made banana pancakes. Every Wednesday, we watched trashy true crime shows. Our Spotify playlists had 1,000 shared songs. Dumb little things. I loved that she still called me babe when she needed something from the fridge. That stupid laugh she did when she sneezed twice in a row. If I sound like I was in a fantasy land, I was. And I didn't even realize she was slipping away until the night she walked through the front door barefoot, limping, mascara streaked across her cheeks. She was crying. Real tears. Her broken heel dangled from her hand like a snapped bone. The other heel was gone. I hit a deer, she whispered. I was coming back from the office. There was a noise, it came out of nowhere. I swerved. Her voice cracked like it hurt to lie. Her hair was messy. Not normal messy. The kind of messy that says hands had been in it. Her blouse was buttoned wrong. Her lipstick looked fresh, but smeared sideways, like it had been pressed against something soft. She collapsed into my arms, shaking. She smelled like whiskey. And something else I couldn't place. Not her perfume. Not mine either. Are you hurt? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. My ankle, she said. I ran. After it happened, I got scared and left the car. I walked the last few blocks. I held her tighter than I should have. Told her I was just glad she was okay. But inside, something twisted. I couldn't explain it yet. I just knew. I knew. It wasn't the whole story. She didn't want me to look at the car. Tomorrow, she said quickly. Let's just go to bed. I can't think right now. I offered to drive her to the ER. She said it was just a sprain. She winced but limped up the stairs alone. I stood there a long time after she closed the bedroom door. Just listening. No tears. No sniffles. Just silence. The next morning, I walked out to the driveway while she was still asleep. Her car looked fine. No dent. No fur. Not even a scratch. When she woke up, I asked if she wanted me to take it to a mechanic. She blinked hard. No. I'll go after work. That was Wednesday. By Friday, she still hadn't taken it in. That whole week, something shifted. She barely touched me. I'd reach for her hand on the couch, and she'd pull away like she didn't notice. She claimed work was insane. She came home later and later. When I offered to pick her up, she'd say her boss was giving her rides. But I've met her boss. 62, wears suspenders, and thinks email is a fad. Something wasn't adding up. That's when I remembered the dashcam. A few months back, we'd had a minor hit-and-run in a grocery store parking lot, so I installed front-facing dashcams in both of our cars. Nothing fancy, but good enough to grab plates or faces. She never even asked about it, and I hadn't checked the footage in weeks. Saturday morning, while she was in the shower, I slipped into the garage, plugged the cam into my laptop, scanned the folders. My hands started sweating the second I saw the timestamp. 11:38 p.m. That night she came home crying. One clip, nearly 20 minutes long. I stared at the file without opening it. Something in me already knew, but I still wasn't ready to see it. Not yet. She came down later in a bathrobe, drying her hair, acting normal. She kissed me on the cheek, said, "Want pancakes?" I looked at her, and almost nodded, but something in my stomach turned again. The last time we'd had pancakes, she'd been singing along to a Fleetwood Mac song, barefoot in that same robe. This time, she didn't hum. She didn't even smile. She just looked tired. And somewhere behind those tired eyes, something wasn't there anymore. I didn't open the dashcam video that weekend. I didn't open it Monday either. But by Tuesday, the ache in my chest had grown sharp. And when she canceled our dinner plans, claimed she had an emergency filing to do, I sat in my home office, turned off the lights, and finally hit play. What I saw made my stomach twist into knots I didn't know a heart could feel. But that's part 2. And believe me, it gets worse. The moment the video started, I knew she'd been lying. Not because of what I saw right away, just the silence. No sound of an impact, no startled yelp, no braking, no crunch of fenders or squeal of tires, just the low, ambient hum of the engine and the clicking of her turn signal as she pulled into a gas station around 11:38 p.m. She parked, turned off the ignition, sat there. For 2 minutes she didn't move. Then a black SUV slid into frame, backed into the space right beside her. Driver's side aligned perfectly. Her door opened. She stepped out, wobbled a little in her heels. Not limping yet. She looked around. Then, as casually as someone walking into their own kitchen, she opened the passenger door of the SUV and climbed in. 10 minutes passed. Nothing happened on screen, but I could hear the faint thud of movement. The dashboard trembled slightly, and then, the door opened again. 11:57 p.m. She stepped out. Her blouse was half untucked. Her lipstick smeared left. The left heel, the one that would later snap, was crooked, like it had been stepped on from an angle. She walked to her car. Got in. 11:59 p.m. The dashcam recorded her looking at herself in the rearview mirror, and then it caught something else. The SUV's window rolled down, and his hand, whoever he was, reached out, flicked her broken heel on the ground like it was a joke, then drove off. She didn't even look back. She drove home 2 minutes later. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even blink. I just sat there, staring at the final frame of the footage, where her headlights illuminated our quiet little driveway. The timestamp, 12:06 a.m. 7 minutes after she'd been straddling a stranger. 7 minutes before she walked into our house sobbing about a deer. I didn't say anything that night, or the next. I became a ghost in my own house. She noticed. Are you okay? She asked Thursday morning. Fine, I said. Just tired. You've been quiet. I've had a lot on my mind. She nodded, then went back to buttering her toast. Like nothing was wrong. Like our life wasn't slowly rotting from the inside out. That weekend I checked her car again. There was a long, fresh scratch on the inside of the passenger door. A heel-shaped smear on the dashboard. And in the back seat, a receipt from the gas station. 2 Gatorades. 1 Red Bull. Condoms. It was time-stamped 11:42 p.m. 2 minutes after she pulled in. She never saw me pull the receipt out. I folded it, slid it into my wallet, and went back inside. Monday, she called from work. I'm gonna be late, she said. Big case. Probably midnight again. Cool, I said. You sure you're okay? I hesitated. Said, of course. But the way her voice jumped after I said it, that half-second of silence, told me she knew something was off. And now, suddenly, she started trying harder. That night, she came home with Chinese food, lit candles, wore that blue sweater I always said made her look like a movie star. I miss you, she said, pressing against my back while I did the dishes. It would have worked before. But now her touch felt surgical. Like she was studying my reactions. Like she was trying to calculate how much I knew, and how much she could still get away with. I almost said something. I almost turned around and told her I saw everything. The dashcam, the SUV, the gas station receipt. But I didn't, because deep down, I still wanted to believe her. Isn't that the worst part? It's not just the betrayal. It's realizing that even after watching them lie with your own eyes, your heart still whispers. Maybe there's more to the story. But the thing about midnight? Midnight doesn't lie. She was sleeping soundly when I finally copied the dashcam video to a flash drive. I put it in a folder called Insurance, password protected. Then I started watching her more carefully, studying her patterns, where she went, who she texted. And slowly, I started noticing another pattern. Her sister. That's when the story changed. That's when the gaslighting started. That's when I stopped being paranoid, and started being right. I never used to care how often her sister came around. Amanda, 30, loud, overbearing, too into astrology. But she was her only sibling, and they were close. Fine, whatever. But after that night, after the dashcam, I started paying attention. And suddenly Amanda was everywhere. She dropped by twice that week. Once, to pick up her mail. Once, just to talk. She hugged me too tight, looked me too long in the eyes, said things like, you know, you're lucky to have her. And then she paused, waited, like she was checking if I knew. I kept my face dead neutral. Didn't give them a single tell. Instead, I started baiting the trap. I offered to clean out our old MacBook for Amanda. She said hers was running slow, needed a hand before Mercury went retrograde or some crap. I said sure. Took it home after brunch. She had iMessage sync turned on. I didn't even have to dig. The thread was buried halfway down the list. Her sister's name. My wife's. Back and forth. Months of messages. Some innocent. Some mean girl gossip. And then, he doesn't suspect anything, right? Amanda. Sent 3 weeks ago. He's still in his fantasy land. I'll play the guilt card if I have to. My wife. My stomach dropped so fast I thought I was going to puke on the keyboard. I clicked forward. Scanned messages from the night of the gas station meetup. You think he'll check the cam? No, he's not like that. He believes in me. You're playing a dangerous game, girl. Don't be dramatic. It was just closure. You know how hard it's been for me. Closure. She used the word closure for straddling some dude in an SUV at midnight. I copied the whole thread. Exported it. Saved backups on 3 cloud accounts, 2 external drives, and my work laptop. Then I put Amanda's MacBook back in her tote bag, cleaned and updated, just like she asked. When I dropped it off at her place, she hugged me again. Thank you, she said sweetly. I smiled, told her she was like the sister I never had. Back home, my wife was in the kitchen, blue sweater again. She was humming. When I walked in, she turned fast, too fast, like she thought I'd caught her mid-confession. You okay? She asked. Yeah. Just tired. She paused, bit her lip. You've been off lately. I've noticed. I turned the water on. Started washing a glass. My heart thudded like a drum under a floorboard. Anything you want to talk about? She asked. I kept my back turned. Not yet. She didn't sleep that night. I could feel her shifting in bed beside me. Restless. Jumpy. Like a poker player stuck holding a losing hand. She was unraveling. And I was just getting started. I called her mom the next day. Said I was worried about her. That she seemed off. Her mom, sweet woman, always adored me, got strangely cagey. Oh, she's just overwhelmed lately, she said. The baby stuff's been hard on her. I know, I replied. But I don't know if I'm helping. Then her mom said it. Maybe give her grace. We all make mistakes. The words were soft, but I heard it. That pause after. We. She knew. Or at least suspected. That's when I realized. I was the only one not in on the joke. I went quiet after that. Started sleeping in the guest room. Said it was work stress. She didn't question it. Maybe she thought I was retreating, pulling away. Exactly what she needed to justify more lies. But what I was really doing? Preparing the checkmate. The night I decided to end it, she was wearing my college hoodie. The same one she used to steal back when we were dating. When she'd curl up on my lap and pretend she couldn't sleep unless it smelled like me. Now it looked like a costume, something borrowed from a life she didn't believe in anymore. We were on the couch. Lights low. Some Netflix documentary playing, but neither of us was watching. Her hand rested on my knee like muscle memory, not affection. She was glancing at her phone more than the screen. I waited until the episode ended. Then I stood up, walked to the kitchen, came back with the flash drive in one hand, the printed text thread in the other. She looked up, smiled faintly. What's that? I didn't answer. I plugged the flash drive into the TV, scrolled to the file, hit play. The dashcam footage lit up the living room. Her car pulling into the gas station, the black SUV, her getting in. 10 minutes of eerie silence, then the kiss. Then her stepping out, lipstick smudged, heels snapped. Her face twisted, mouth open like she was about to say something. But I held up my hand, didn't break eye contact, just let it run. When it ended, I tossed the printed texts on the coffee table. Right on top was Amanda's message. He doesn't suspect anything, right? She stared at it. Read it. Didn't blink. Then finally, quietly, she said, I was going to tell you. I laughed. Actually laughed. Sharp, broken, bitter. When? I asked. Before or after the next SUV ride? She flinched. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. It just happened. He was someone I used to. Spare me the movie monologue. I cut in. You lied. Repeatedly. You let your sister help you lie. You came home, made pancakes, wore my hoodie, and you looked me in the eye like nothing ever happened. Her voice cracked. I was scared. Of what? Losing me? No, she whispered. Of not missing you. That was the first honest thing she said all week. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there, staring at the woman I thought I was building a life with, and all I could think was, you never planned to stop. Because if I hadn't checked the dashcam, if I hadn't found the receipt, if I hadn't seen those texts, she would have kept going. She would have let me get her pregnant, let me build a nursery, let me dream for two, and then she would have left. She started crying. I made a mistake, she said. Please, let's fix it. I shook my head. You didn't make a mistake, I said. You made 100 choices. Then she switched tactics. Please don't tell my mom. Or Amanda. Please. I tilted my head. You mean the ones who already knew? She froze. Her whole body slumped like a puppet with cut strings. You're not going to guilt your way out of this, I said coldly. You can save the tears for someone who gives a damn. I walked upstairs, started packing a bag, didn't slam a door, didn't leave a note. Just set the flash drive on the nightstand with a sticky note that said, "Play the guilt card now." She tried calling 12 times that night. Left 6 voicemails. I didn't listen to a single one. The next morning, I was gone. And she still hadn't figured out what was coming next, because the real reckoning was about to go public. I waited exactly 4 days. Long enough for the panic to settle into dread. Long enough for her to think maybe I'd calm down, maybe I'd come around, maybe she could still twist this into a rough patch. She didn't know I'd already scheduled brunch. Invited her, her sister, her mom. Told them I had something important to share. Said it was about the future. She replied the same hour. Said of course. Said she was so glad I was ready to talk. Added a heart emoji. Amanda texted a thumbs up. Her mom offered to bring scones. They all thought I was crawling back. Thought I was the same trusting idiot who believed in deer on highways and bad cell service and work drinks that went late. They had no idea I'd been planning a public execution. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. My place. I wore a gray button-down. Neutral. Forgettable. Let them underestimate me. The moment they walked in, I smiled and played host. Poured coffee. Set out fruit. Pretended to laugh at Amanda's lame jokes. Let her mom ramble about tulip bulbs and spring weddings she still hoped for. My wife. She looked nervous. Makeup heavier than usual. Eyes a little puffy. Kept touching her hair like she was trying to keep something from falling apart. She didn't know, it already had. Once everyone had their plates, I stood up. I wanted to say thank you for coming. I started. I've been doing a lot of thinking this week. About trust. About family. About who we really are when no one's watching. Her mom smiled. My wife blinked. Amanda bit into a croissant. Which is why, I continued, I thought we could all watch something together. I picked up the remote, switched the TV on, selected the file, pressed play. Silence. Then, her car pulling into the gas station, the black SUV arriving, her getting in. 10 minutes of stillness. Then the door opening, her smeared face, the heel breaking, the goodbye kiss through the window. I didn't look at them. I watched the screen, watched her mom's face drain of color, watched Amanda stiffen like her spine had been frozen, watched my wife cover her mouth with both hands like she could stop time with her fingers. When it ended, I let the silence stretch, let it ache. Then I reached into my pocket, tossed the printed text thread onto the table. Right on top. He doesn't suspect anything, right? Amanda flinched like I'd slapped her. Her mom whispered, "Oh my God!" My wife didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't breathe. I trusted all of you, I said calmly. And every single one of you failed me. Her mom stood up. I didn't know about this, she said, trembling. I looked her straight in the eyes. You said we all make mistakes, 4 days ago. On the phone. Don't lie to me now, Amanda stammered. It wasn't like that. I was trying to protect. You weren't protecting anyone. I cut in. You were helping her cover her tracks. You enabled her. You made me the fool in every room. Then I looked at my wife, still silent, tears now. Big ones, but quiet, careful. I'd seen that look before. The one she used when she was 6 moves ahead, when she was already planning the next manipulation. I loved you, I said. I would have given you everything, she whispered. You still can. I actually laughed, loud, sharp, like a crack down the middle of something sacred. I turned to her mom. You raised her. I get that. But from now on we're done. She opened her mouth. I held up a hand. No more scones. No more calls. No more pretending like I'm part of this family. You made your choice the second you chose silence. I turned to Amanda. And you, delete my number. Don't even think about showing up at my door. You're not clever. You're not kind. And you sure as hell aren't my friend. Amanda was crying now. Her nose was running. Her voice cracked as she tried to say something, but I was already walking to the door. I opened it. Gestured like a maitre d'. Brunch is over. They shuffled out like kicked dogs. My wife was last. She paused in the doorway. I didn't mean for it to get this far, she said softly. I didn't answer. Just looked at her like she was someone I'd never met. Because she was. Back inside, I sat on the couch. Alone. And it was the first time in weeks the house actually felt quiet. Not heavy. Not haunted. Just still. That night, I changed every password. Unlinked her from every account. Started a new bank account. Scheduled a meeting with a lawyer. And for the first time in months, I slept straight through. I didn't send a follow-up text. Didn't reach out the next day. Didn't answer the 34 missed calls that came in over the next week. From her, Amanda, even her mom trying to explain everything. There was nothing left to explain. I filed for divorce on a Thursday. Quietly. Efficiently. My lawyer was blunt but respectful. When she asked for grounds, I told her. Emotional abandonment, betrayal, collusion with family members. She raised an eyebrow and said, Damn. I moved out the same weekend. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Found a month-to-month rental on the far side of town. An old craftsman house with squeaky stairs and zero memories. The silence there was different, cleaner. I slept with the windows open just to hear wind again, not footsteps sneaking in past midnight. She tried to contact me through my work email. Said she missed me. Said she wasn't herself that night. Said it was never about the other guy. That was my favorite. Because if it wasn't about him, who was it about? My absence? Her loneliness? The universe? No. It was about her. Always had been. Amanda sent a voice note. Started crying 30 seconds in. Said she was used. Said she never meant to hurt me. Said she just thought it was a one-time thing and didn't want to blow up the marriage. I deleted it halfway through. If you watched someone lie to your face, knew they were lying, and chose to stay silent, you don't get a second chance. I sold the house 2 months later. Didn't even let her come pick up her things. Told my lawyer to box up what was hers and drop it at Amanda's place. If she wanted to sift through the ashes of what used to be our life, she could do it with the same hand she used to help bury it. One day I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo. Me and her, our wedding day. She was smiling. I was smiling. The caption said, "Do you ever miss this?" I stared at it for a while. Then I blocked the number. That version of me was gone. The guy who thought love meant sacrificing your gut for someone else's comfort? Dead. The guy who believed loyalty was a guarantee if you gave enough of yourself? Buried. I started seeing a therapist. Not because I wanted to heal the relationship. I just needed to clean out the infection. Took a while to even say her name out loud in the sessions. For weeks I just called her the stranger in my bed. My therapist nodded and said, "That sounds about right." 3 months later, I walked into a motorcycle shop. Not because I needed a bike, but because I wanted to want something again. I left with a matte black cruiser, a helmet that made me feel like a soldier, and a new playlist called No More Ghosts. I started living again. Really living. Took a weekend trip to Austin. Met people. Ate food that didn't come from a microwave. Talked to strangers without checking if I sounded too dramatic. I didn't wear the hoodie she used to steal. I didn't listen to the playlist we made. I didn't look back. And then, one night I saw her. Whole Foods. Frozen aisle. She was in flats, holding a bag of peas, hair tied up like she hadn't slept. Her eyes flicked up. Met mine. Went wide. She opened her mouth. I shook my head. Once. Firm. And kept walking. Didn't stop. Didn't turn around. Didn't give her closure. Because closure is what you give people you respect. She was just a ghost now. But there's one last piece to this story. One last twist. It came 6 months later. I was 2 states away by then, freelancing from a cabin outside Asheville. Life was simple. I hiked in the mornings, cooked like I used to, relearned the sound of my own thoughts. I deleted every trace of her. New number, new socials, new city. Until one email slipped through the cracks. Subject line: "You deserve to know this." The sender? Her mom. I didn't open it at first. Just stared at the name like it was a ghost pushing its fingers through the wall. 2 hours passed. I cracked. Clicked. The email was short. Too short for what it carried. "I've been thinking about everything that happened. What you said, what I didn't say. I didn't want to believe it, but I knew something was wrong. I should have told you the truth when I had the chance. It wasn't the first time. She had someone else 2 years ago. It ended fast. She said she made a mistake and begged me not to tell. I thought if she moved on, it wouldn't matter. That you two could be happy again. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I read it 5 times. Not because I didn't understand. Because I did. The dear lie wasn't the beginning. It was the end of a pattern. One I never saw because I never thought I had to look. I sat there for hours, staring out at the trees, turning that line over and over in my head. It wasn't the first time. How many smiles were fake? How many memories were staged? How many times had I loved someone who wasn't real? I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. The past wasn't a puzzle to solve anymore. It was a crime scene, taped off and abandoned. You don't return to a fire after it's gone cold. You let it rot. Later that week, Amanda sent one last message. From a new number. I almost deleted it. But curiosity got me. She's dating the SUV guy now. His name's Dylan. She told Mom he might propose. Also, she said you never loved her right. That's how she justifies it now. I smiled. Deleted it. Blocked the number. Let them spiral in the wreckage they lit. That was the final piece. Not the betrayal. Not the gaslighting. Not even the SUV. It was the rewrite. The way they twist the narrative so they can sleep at night. I wasn't the bad guy. I was just the exit strategy. The one who made her feel too seen, too held, too real. Some people mistake love for a mirror. When they see who they really are, they smash it. But I kept something from that wreckage. One file. A still frame from the dashcam, her face half lit by the dashboard, looking directly into the camera, eyes blank, lips parted. I set it as the lock screen on an old phone I don't use anymore. Not out of spite. Out of memory. Because sometimes you need to remind yourself, you weren't crazy. You were just lied to with precision. So yeah? That's the story. Of how she came home limping in heels, mumbling about a deer, and I buried a marriage without raising my voice. No screaming. Just truth. And silence. Because sometimes, the quietest exit hurts the most.